Destiny was an exceptional child. Her friends and classmates all thought she exuded confidence and was always ready to prove she was right. In the first grade, Destiny's parents separated, causing her to miss a lot of school. To compound things, Destiny was biracial. She was constantly picked on by other kids at school. She loved to read and collect as many books as she could. However, she never went to the school library. The librarians were mean, she said. They were only nice to the white students. Destiny's teachers never gave her support. One middle school teacher told her she would never graduate. She was considered to be dumb and was placed in lower tracking classes. In high school, she experienced more of the same. She was picked on by her other classmates because she was biracial. She was suspended several times for getting into fights. The education wasn't good. She didn't even try and got a 3.8 GPA. Despite all of this, Destiny still has a passion for learning and wants to go to college.
This is Jeremy. Jeremy was a quiet but diligent student. He lived in a large suburb with parents who had both received college educations. Jeremy's father had hundreds of books in his study and encouraged Jeremy to read as much as he could. His mother was a graphic artist and stay-at-home mom. Whenever Jeremy came home with a project for school, his mom would help him with it. Jeremy was never bullied in any of his years of schooling and was well liked by his classmates and teachers. Jeremy loved school and was given encouragement from his teachers to do the best that he could on every assignment. My teachers really made an effort in encouraging me to do my best. In middle school, Jeremy was allowed to play sports, participate in school plays, and was even featured in the school talent show. Throughout high school, Jeremy received good grades and was able to take higher level honor courses. The school's resources allowed Jeremy to complete all of his assignments. There was always computers to use and a library that welcomed student use. He finished high school with a 4.0 GPA. He applied and was accepted to many colleges, feeling quite prepared to take on more challenging tasks. Since then, Jeremy has decided that he will take his passion for school and learning to become a teacher.
Hello, so today we are going to take a look at formatting document or Excel spreadsheets day 2. So what we're going to do is we're going to focus on how to get a bulk of information into a table format and then a couple of ways that we can manipulate that information in order to make it look professional and easy to read. So what that'll have to do is we'll look at a bunch of different tools on the home page as well as the design tab. When we make a table itself, this will appear, and there will be a couple of things that we can do in here as well. So that'll include conditional formatting, format as tables, cell styles, a bunch of different tools in the editing, and then the number section as well. So anyway, what we've got here is a sample of information that I have completely made up except for the team mascot and the high school. Those are real. So what we're going to do is we're going to try and take this table and make it look professionally done and give it a bunch of different bells and whistles so that it looks good and is easy to read. So first and foremost, how we make the table out of just a bunch of information is we start by clicking the top left cell corner and dragging it into include all your information. We're going to go up to in the styles section of the toolbar, go to Format as Table, and then you can really select any of these table formats that you want or is appealing to you. For example, I'm just going to hit the white table style medium. So immediately that gets us into just the pure color and formatting of it with the darkened lines and such. So a couple of easy ways to make this more readable is if we go to the Design tab of the Table Tools. In the Table Style Options section, there's a bunch of different options that we can use to customize this table. So for example, it's got the header row right now, which is a different color, but we could also do something called banded rows, and what that does is it makes the darkness of every other one different, so that easier to read across on the rows of each table. We could also do the filter button. This button is going to be huge because this is a very powerful tool, and I'll get to it in a second. But also, for a small part of making it easier to read, we could bold the first or last column if we wanted to, or we could do the banded columns for horizontal as well. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make the last column bold, because if you see, that is the ranking section, so that might be the most important one because it's an overall number that people would want to look at. Now again, I just made these up. The only one that I didn't make up is Evansville, because that's my hometown, and I obviously am biased because they're number one. So, going forward, what the filter button does is, as soon as I clicked it, it bring up these little arrows on each of the headings. Now, these are very powerful tools, especially if you have a lot of information, like we're going to take a look at for another example. So if I wanted to, let's say I wanted to filter the search in a way, I would click on this arrow and it would give me a bunch of different options. So like sort A to Z, Z to A, and then there's like search bars. So if I wanted to sort this information A to Z, it would automatically do it alphabetically, so blue light being first and then the M's being last. If I wanted to switch to Z to A, it automatically switches all the information accordingly. Now if you want to get out of that, you would go up to the sort and filter tool in the editing section, go down, and then it would give you a chance to clear your filter. So then remember, it goes back to a regular arrow, as opposed to if I had a sorting filter, it has this extra symbol with the arrow. So again, go to sort and filter, then clear the filter in order for it to not. Now it won't immediately take it back to the other way that it was, but you can manipulate the table however you want in different ways now. Another cool thing about this filter thing is if I have a bulk of information, so let's say that I want to find the biggest population of males out of all 8 of these high schools. So what I can do is in our sort, and going back to our sort and filter tab, we can customize the sort, and it pops up with this table. So what you'd start off, just typically you want to go, because in order to find the biggest population of guys from the information we've been given, we want to start with the sort by the population. We want to get the values of it, and then we want it to go largest to smallest in order. Okay, so that gives us that. But we also want to find out the male population in order to see the biggest population of males. So we add a level. What this does then is it first sorts by population, but then after it's done doing that, we can sort it by percent males. And then we can go largest to smallest. This is typically very useful if you have information that repeats itself after the first sort. So you could have 2 schools that have the same population, but then you sort it by percent males in order to get the biggest amount of males out of all the schools in your table. So again, it redoes it, and then accordingly it switches to the different symbols for the filters to signal that it is being sorted in that way. So now let's get a little more complicated, and let's take a look at the 2015-2016 school report card data for the Department of Public Instruction in Wisconsin. Now, if you notice, this is a lot more information that than our simple table that we had. Okay, it includes district code, school code, and the list goes on and on and on of what you can sort by. So it makes finding information a little bit more tough. See, you could limit it by the district name. You could say that you only want schools in Madison. Ooh. How about we capitalize Madison? No? Okay, I see the problem. I think that I am too low on the bar because I'm looking over here and I'm at the bottom of the table. So if we scroll up, there they are. Okay, so we filtered it by Madison, and all of a sudden there's Madison metropolitan area. Perfect. That's not that many, but what if we went till Milwaukee? Yeah, there's a lot more results that come up, and that it'll take a lot of time to even filter through this. So what you can do is you can do what's called conditional formatting. So in conditional formatting, you have a bunch of different options like highlight cells rules. So for this one, this is what you would probably use 90% of the time if you're going to use conditional formatting. Let's say that we wanted to look up the best schools in Milwaukee. Well, it would be tough to do that just by searching through purely from what meets the eye. So if you go to highlighted cells rules, you go greater than, you can do a color formatted option here in order to rank or look at the best schools. So what you first have to do is you have to go over to the tab where they rank and give a number to each of them. That's the overall accountability score. So you select that entire column, you go to the conditional formatting, go to your greater than, and now you'll see immediately that it selects a number, and then it says with light red fill and dark red text. And then you see a bunch of different cells change. Well, we're looking for the best schools in Milwaukee, so we're going to take care of that number, and let's say that we want only ones above a 70. And we want to fill them with green because green kind of typically means good, right? So you hit OK. So immediately, the ones that are above 70 or do not have necessarily a number value get highlighted for you to scroll through. Now, in this situation, there's only one school that's above a 70 in there, and you find it right away. Okay, and then at the same time, you can do, well, let's see all the worst schools. So you go highlighted cells, less than. How about we go a 40, and you fill that with light red text. So remember, to see the worst schools, we're selecting the less than portion. And there. So now as you go through, it's a lot easier to decipher which is which when you're looking at good and bad schools. And always keep in mind that if you've done something or a couple of things that you don't like and you'd rather not have them show up like this, if this is too colorful for you and you want to get rid of it, no matter what format you do, you can always go to the editing section in the home tab and hit the clear, and then clear formats. And that will erase what you've done. So you can start over and customize it how you would rather read. Okay? So let's get out of this filter Milwaukee. So in order to do that, remember, you select all instead of the ones. When you search Milwaukee, it takes out all the checkboxes for all the other schools except for the Milwaukee Area School District. So if you select all, that brings it back to all of them. Go to the top here. Now, the last useful feature that I would say is something that you could do for tables is if you want to make a different font or a different color for the different district, let's say, to separate the fact that it's saying it's a district name, you could select the horizontal column and then you could go to cell styles, and then there's a bunch of different options for distinguishing that as opposed to just having it be normal text. So you could have it be heading, you know, and then all of a sudden it would format those. That way you could see clearly that that's the area that they're talking about in the district that they're talking about. Now that doesn't necessarily look like the most appealing way to format a table, but that just gives you an idea of what you could do. So I'm going to undo that quick. And then the last thing I have for you guys is if we go back to our simple table. So if you notice, these percents were not in an actual percentage, they're just the numbers. So if you wanted to change that, you could select them, and then you could go to the numbers tab in the tool section on the home page, and you could just hit percents. Oop, and then you'd obviously want to make sure that the numbers that they are a 0.46 instead of the whole number. That way when you switch over to percents, then it actually gets 46% instead of 46,000%. So you could do that for the entire table if you wanted. And then there's a bunch of different options. That could be 46 cents. That could be, you know, that could be you could add an extra decimal point or remove an extra decimal point to round up or down. And that's kind of different ways that you can do that, portray that. So overall, that is how to manipulate a table and make it look professional and be able to search and find information at ease. Hope that you guys learned a lot today, and go ahead and replay this however much you want to get the assignment done.